Hi everyone, welcome back to this channel. Today we are going to solve a very critical problem of the students. Most students complain that when they start studying theory subject, they have this compulsive need to cram everything, to mug up everything. Why does this happen and what to do to solve it? How to make theory interesting to study? That is what we are going to be discussing in this video. These are the tips that I have tried throughout my journey of CA and CS. So if you're new to this channel, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, like this video, leave a comment. Now let's start off with this video. Now in your CA curriculum, CS curriculum, CMA curriculum, you have many theoretical subjects. You have law, you have audit, you also have taxation, you have EIS, SM. For majority of the students, what we tend to do is that when we are reading these subjects, we try to mug up everything. We try to cram them. We try to repeat these in our mind again and again. We try to write these things in practice for some students. So it is not exactly useful. So because we are giving a professional examination, the questions that come, they require you to have conceptual understanding. They require you to solve the cases relating to those concepts. Now, I do understand we feel this compulsive need to cram the subject, but why do we exactly feel this need? We need to understand this to solve this problem and make the theory subjects interesting. The two reasons why I think we tend to cram is because first of all, when we see that huge fat book and then we try to do every single chapter, these concepts are absolutely new. Plus the course is so vast that we kind of get scared at the back of our mind, and we think that we are obviously not going to remember all of this. We're studying it for the first time. Who knows when are we going to study these topics again? They are absolutely new. So let's just try to cram everything up. It's like, let's say a person is in a desert. This person has not received any food or water for so many days. Suddenly there is a buffet that is there in front of him. He would like to stuff everything in his mouth. He would like to eat more and more and more so that he can keep himself full for a longer period of time. It's kind of the same mentality. Okay, the first time you read these subjects, they are so overwhelming that we kind of get scared and we want to cram everything up. However, it doesn't really help us. Why? Because any which ways, the second time you are going to read it, you might not remember most of it. Moreover, when you cram, you're trying to remember the language of it. You're trying to reproduce the exact same language, right? Doesn't help in the examinations. So basically we cram because we are scared that we might forget this subject. We might not get time to revise everything all over again. Okay, so this fear is something which we need to remove. We need to eliminate. We need to believe that there is a process of doing theory subjects, and if you follow that process, then you will retain theory. So what is that process? Let's try to decode that process. So number one, when we talk about our theory subjects, there are two parts to the theory subject. One is the concept, okay, and then the other one is certain numeric limits or the procedures, right? When we talk about the concept, it is the idea behind that theory subject. Okay, so when we're talking about company law, then this is the law that governs how the companies are going to operate. Every single chapter has a purpose. When we talk about incorporation of the company, we're talking about the registration of a company. Okay, similarly, when we talk about audit and auditors, there is a reason why that chapter is there. It is governing the provisions relating to audit of the company, right? So every chapter, every concept has an idea behind it, and you need to know that idea. You need to be engulfed, involved in that idea to properly understand that particular section, that particular topic. So that is the first part of a theory subject. Okay, this is something for which you will have to be analytic. You will have to think beyond what is just written on the pages, and you will have to think the concept and then understand it. Right? We cannot miss out on this. If you cram the subject, you might miss out on this thing. We don't want to miss out on this thing. This is the base, the foundation on which we are going to be doing the revision. Let's move on to the second part of our theory subjects, which is the numeric limits, the procedures. For example, I'll talk about my subject, which is company law. In that, there are certain limits. Turnover limits are there. Paid up share capital limits are there. Those numbers are there, right? Then we have special resolution or ordinary resolution. There are certain procedures that have to be followed in different parts of different chapters, different sections, right? So these are things that are step by step. These do not exactly have a deciding concept behind it, but we just have to remember these things. Okay, so for this part of your theory subjects, what you need to do is first you read them and then you jot it down somewhere. We are going to separately be creating a notebook in which we have jotted down all these procedural aspects which we kind of need to remember. Now, note making serves two purposes. First of all, you're writing it down, so in a way you're kind of revising it also. There is more chances for you to retain it because your hand is involved, you're more focused, so definitely there is more chance of remembering these concepts. The second thing is, this is going to be very useful in revising. You don't have to read that huge fat book again. You can just see these notes And based on that, you can do your second revision, third revision just before the examination. In that last one day also, you can do your revision. Now for note making, I already have a specific video. I'm going to link here somewhere in the I button and in the description box below. You can check it out. Most of the students, because they're too scared of the theory subject or they're too bored of the theory subjects, they do not really focus on concepts. Okay, they just want to remember the numbers. They just want to remember the procedures. They don't want to go behind it and know the story behind these numbers and these concepts. That is precisely one differentiating factor. If you can understand the concept and if you can somehow develop an interest in the concept behind that subject, then the theory is going to become so very interesting for you. It is going to be very fast for you to remember these things, to read all of these concepts, because now you will be involved in it. You will be interested in it. So that is one factor which differentiates a very good student who really likes theory, who scores well in theory, versus a student who hates theory, who gets bored in theory, and who doesn't really score that well in theory subjects. So you got to decide which kind of student you want to be. Now let me tell you something about myself. Long time ago, I only liked practical subjects. I did not really enjoy theory subjects. Then I enrolled in CS curriculum, so then I had to figure out a way to love theory subjects, because in CS there are many theory subjects. There are hardly a couple of subjects which have some numericals. Other than that, everything is theory. Okay, so I have taken some steps that have made me love theory subjects. So I'm going to be revealing those steps to you. So probably you can use these tips and you can also develop some sort of interest in theory subjects. First thing, like I said, you have to understand the concept behind a chapter. Now, how do you understand the concept behind a chapter? For most of the students, what they do is they take up the chapter, they start reading from the first paragraph onwards. Now that is not the correct way in my opinion. What you should exactly do is, when you take up a new chapter, just read the main headings of that entire chapter in one glance. Okay, so first page you read the main headings, next page you read the main headings, third page you read the main headings. That way you complete the whole chapter just by reading the main headings. When you do that, then basically in your mind a picture is going to be created. You will kind of have an idea as to what this chapter relates with. You will kind of have an idea as to what are you going to be doing in this chapter. You know how before a movie is released, there is a trailer which is released. That trailer basically gives you the concept behind that movie. Once you know that trailer, then you're more interested to watch that movie, because then you're excited about what to look for. Right? This is exactly how theory chapters also have to be done. So you will notice that your speed of reading will automatically increase compared to initially. Initially, you might not know what you're looking at. You might not know what this chapter is about. You're just trying to complete it. You're just reading these paragraphs. It becomes monotonous. Versus now you already know what you're looking forward to. Now you already have some idea about this chapter. Okay, so it is kind of going to make the process easier for you, and you will also become faster in reading. The next tip is a little unconventional tip. I used to use it. It is basically if you're feeling bored of studying theory. See, for every single day, I personally believe that you should have some sort of target as to what you're trying to achieve. So let's say the target is 50 pages per day. Okay. Now, sometimes it gets boring. Sometimes we don't feel like studying. Sometimes we just don't like the book. We don't like the concept. It happens with every one of us. So around that time, what I used to do is I used to pick up any topic from that chapter. What I mean is that instead of doing the entire chapter in sequence, I would take up any topic before the other one. I sometimes might jump to the 5th page and do that 5th page first. Sometimes I might take up the 10th page first. I would do that page first. So whatever topic interested me, I would go in that direction. So the whole concept behind it was that instead of wasting the entire time, let's do something, something is always better than nothing. So that way, out of the entire chapter, sometimes I would do this concept, sometimes I would do this concept, that concept, this concept. Overall, after 1 hour, 2 hour, 5 hours, I would complete that entire chapter. I would complete my entire goal. Similarly, one more trick that I used to follow is I used to basically trick my mind. Okay, if I did not like theory, then I would just give my brain a target to complete. That means I told my brain that, listen, you just need to do 7 pages. You finish up 7 pages, you take a break. Okay, so my motivation was that break. So that way, very quickly, I would try to complete those 7 pages and then I would rush to take a break. And then after the break, again, I would give myself those targets. So every time I was kind of chasing that break, but while chasing that break, I tried to finish as much as possible. See, the first round of reading is always going to be very, very difficult because these are new concepts. Plus, you might not be in the momentum of studying. So you will have to build that habit, and building a habit is kind of a change, and change is always hard. Change is difficult. It's painful. Okay, so in order to sail through that change, you should have some sort of motivation. So for me, break became the motivation. So this is also something which you can try out. Another thing that I would do to make the theory subjects interesting is that I would read them aloud and I would try to explain those concepts to myself. It's basically like talking to your own self. So you read the concepts and then you explain those topics to your own self. So basically that gives you clarity of the concept. You will probably come up with new ideas while you're explaining these topics to yourself. You can also do one more thing. You can try to explain these topics to someone else. So it could be a friend of yours who's also in the same curriculum, right? So you two may decide that other friend of yours can do a few topics and you can prepare a few topics, and then you can make some discussions with each other. The last tip in this video is mix theory subjects with practical subjects. So maybe for an hour you can try to complete theory subjects, and then maybe you can enjoy with the practical subjects. You can do a couple of questions of the practical subjects, right? Same way, between practical subject also you can take up a little bit of break and do maybe 3 pages, 2 pages, 5 pages of theory subject. So instead of taking that burden of doing that entire theory chapter or that entire theory book, if in between also you get some time, just finish up one paragraph, just finish up one page, just finish up 5 pages, right? Even a little bit of time here and there would probably mean that you have completed 20 pages in a day or 50 pages in a day, right? So maybe that is something also which can help you in creating interest for theory subjects. Now this video is about how to create interest in theory subjects, but if you want to learn how to remember these theory subjects more effectively, with respect to that I have already created a video. You can check that video out here in the I button and also in the description box below. You can check that out after this video. So that is it in this video. I hope this video helps you, inspires you to develop interest in theory subjects. If you have any more doubt, write them down in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to this channel. So I'll see you again in another video. Take care of yourself. Bye.